Hello and welcome to another episode of my Football Manager series. Now this is episode number 2, where we start the Premier League season. And as you'll find out, it is a very much a mixed bag to start the season. Some wins in here which I'm quite happy with, but then there were some games where admittedly we should have won, where we got a point, or like games against Manchester City and Chelsea where we actually played quite well, but we were never really gonna win. So this first game is against Sheffield United. Most of the team stays the same. Nathan Ake actually returns at some point, and that was Sheffield United's first goal, scored by Ollie McBurney, and we get a comeback goal through Callum Wilson. At this point I was thinking, okay, because I was panicking, and then Josh King decided to get on the score sheet with a very nice goal. And then the 91st minute arrives with Oliver Norwood getting on the score sheet. So that went poorly. But yeah, you know, one game down, another 37 to go. But yeah, we were just having a look through the market to see if there was anyone else we could potentially bring in. We did make one signing, but it was a loan signing of and is it Andrea Lunin, the goalkeeper from Real Madrid, who we brought in on loan until the end of the season, because you'll see that we loan out Travers and we've not actually got a backup goalkeeper. I mean, Artur Boruc isn't really going to be playing for the club that much longer because he's 39 years old. But we've made some progression. Andrew Sermon, a club legend, has joined. He's joined Galatasaray, which is it's a good move for him, and kind of hopefully he'll be able to get some more game time in that division. Next up, then, I believe we are is this the game we play Manchester City? I think it is, which was, as you're going to see, quite painful, because actually I messed around with the setup before to try and create a setup which we could use against the larger top 6 teams, and it almost actually worked out quite well in this match. But the top 6 syndrome kicked in, and weren't able to get anything out of it, unfortunately. But this is the game against Manchester City. So as you see, really positive start. A goal from youngster David Brooks 1 minute into the game, and then Aguero scores, and it all kind of changes again. Fernandinho gets the winner in the 89th minute to put our hearts certainly very disappointed, because we actually could have won that game. We certainly could have got a draw out of it. And there's another game like that we will see that appears later on that is very similar to that feeling. But yeah, so we were having a look for a backup goalie, and this is where we came across Andrei Lunin. I think that's apologies for the pronunciation. It's probably tragically wrong, but we've tried to see if we can pick him up on loan. He looks like a reasonable backup that we can bring in for this next game against West Ham. He is the backup goalkeeper to Ramsdale. Goalkeeper is potentially an option that I can improve in. My view is I will give Ramsdale this season, and if he's not progressing the way that I potentially want him to, or I can bring in a option for the future, or that is a little bit more developed, then that one will work for me. Anyway, this game against West Ham, it took until the 63rd minute for the only goal of the game, which was from Callum Wilson. Apart from that, it was quite a dull game. We did control it quite well with 8 shots compared to the Hammers 6. But yeah, it was a bit of a dull game, not a lot happened. So this next game is against Bristol Rovers in the Carabao Cup. Now I've decided I'm going to promote some youngsters, certain youngsters that have developed. So Ryan Glover was the first one I thought. He looks like he could actually potentially end up into an alright player. And Corey Jordan, the centre half, looked pretty good as well. I didn't actually realise this, but apparently Jermaine Defoe is still classified as a Bournemouth player, so we could bring him back for 1 or 2 games potentially, just as a just from an interest point of view. But yeah, no, certainly interesting game coming up. We were going to play some rotated players. So Glover comes in, Stanislas comes in, Jordan comes in. I think we put Simpson instead of Kelly, so a bit of a difference there. Solanke comes in, and he actually impressed me quite a bit in this game, which I was slightly surprised by. But that was really the team that I think we put Harry Wilson in last minute as well into that midfield spot, and he actually stayed there for a few games after this and really impressed. This game against Bristol Rovers wasn't a brush over as such, but he certainly showed that midfield was up for debate, and I was looking at other options potentially to play alongside Jefferson Lerma. I think he is the starting midfielder. It took until the 55th minute for the first goal, so quite surprising it lasted that long. And then the floodgates opened for 2 goals that allowed Callum Wilson and Dominic Solanke to get on the goal scoring sheet. But overall, relatively easy game. Not much of a challenge. A game that I was expecting to win anyway. And we did relatively comfortably, to be honest. Next up, we have Everton. This is the one where I was most, I wouldn't say surprised. I wasn't going into this game thinking, oh God, we're going to get brushed over. But the result from it was surprising, I think. And a certain man that I mentioned earlier in the video certainly makes his impact in this game. With a very vital goal, and he gets a few vital goals in the next few games. So we bring in Kamara, Ake, the usual players that we would start. Jefferson Lerma did come back in when I actually found where he was. There he is. And Brooks came back in. I think Callum Wilson was injured for this game, so we had to go with Solanke and King, which wasn't ideal, but actually Solanke didn't play too badly in the game before, so I wasn't obviously too disheartened. Now we got a penalty quite early on into the second half in the 69th minute, which Harry Wilson tucked away, and was the only goal of the game. It was actually, other than that, quite a boring game. At this point, before the next game, obviously, we were 8th in the league. Now that was quite nice. That was quite a nice feeling. I was just having a look at Moussa Diaby because he had a mixed bag of games. There were some games he turned up and he was incredible, and other games he was non-existent really. However, I think we can still get the best out of him, and if he develops like he's meant to, he could potentially be 70 million pound player. He really could. It's just a shame with where he is in the league. He doesn't obviously want this big bumper contract with £100 million release clause or whatever. So his release clause is relatively cheap in comparison, but it's 72 million isn't a brush over. I can't see big clubs coming over and go, oh, I'll have him. It's double the amount we actually spent on him. And I knew if we were going to get anything out of this save, we needed to develop youth, because I think that was one area that Bournemouth hadn't really looked into. I mean, they brought in quite a lot of expensive Liverpool youngsters, but they've not actually really paid off. And that was my thinking with Kamara and Diaby. Now, I didn't go off to a great start. Olivier Giroud got a goal, but then another penalty, another Harry Wilson goal, equalised, and I was thinking we might actually get something out of this, until Giroud scores again, and yeah, Abraham then tucks away in the 74th minute to secure Chelsea the 3 points. But overall, yeah, it's been a mixed bag. But that is it for the episode. Thank you very much for watching, and stay safe, and I hope you are all getting on well in the tough scenarios that we are in. It was another great episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and this save will continue.